Hey guys, Morphologist here, and welcome back. Let's talk about Black Desert Online. Not a first impression though, a review. I'm going to give you guys as much information as possible to allow you to make a more informed decision on whether or not you want to drop the cash to buy this game. But first I want to preface this video by telling you about my bias. I really enjoyed this game. In fact, I'm going to keep playing it and making content for it on my channel. However, there are quite a few issues, and I'm going to talk about those first, because those may be deal breakers for you. So let's get the basics out of the way. This is a Korean style MMO, so you're going to have to expect there's going to be some grinding. It's also labeled as a sandbox title, meaning there's a variety of things that are in the game which are part of the mechanics aside from combat. And the game is a pay-to-play, meaning it's not free to play, you have to pay a cover charge. Luckily though, as it stands, that's not a subscription base. However, it does have a premium shop. And as frustrated as I am to find that out, unfortunately it's just the reality of the market right now, and pretty much every MMO has one of these. Luckily, they are going the route of not allowing you to purchase things that give you an advantage over players who don't use real money to purchase items, meaning they're mostly aesthetic, with the exception of some questionable stat increases on some of the costumes, which we'll cover in the next part of this video. The last thing I need to get out before we move on is the energy system that's in the game. It's a bar that's located in the upper left-hand corner by default. It has a man with a bicep thing up there. That's your energy. You use that for pretty much everything in the game, from conversations to trading to questing, and you need to know about it because I'm going to bring it up many times in this video. So now let's talk about the downsides. And in this category is price. Now the initial price of $29.95 is not bad. You're only paying it once and it's not a subscription, so you could probably say, alright, well I'm forking over, big deal. However, if you're still planning on pre-ordering this game, you may see two other options, the Explorer's package and the Conqueror's package, which may leave you scratching your head. Well, here's the breakdown. If you get the Explorer's package, you're going to get access to the controlled beta test 2, which is already over, so that doesn't really make any sense. But you also get some premium items to start off with and 48 hours early access to the official release on March 3rd. So you get earlier access than the $29.95 option. If you buy the $100 option, that gives you 2,500 pearls, which is the currency for their cash shop, their real money to purchase items, and you get 96 hours early access, which is a pretty big boost for content creators or people who just want to get a leg up and get their character name in there. But the weird thing is that you're paying $100 and you're getting all these things, but you're only getting 2,500 pearls. That doesn't really buy you anything. It's just short of anything interesting like a costume, which is to me more of a underhanded approach to enticing you to purchase more pearls so that you can get something, because it's only a little bit more. So now let's start talking about the negatives. Customization. Now, you may have heard from a lot of other people that the customization options for your character in this game are immense, and it's one of the shining parts of the game, one of the best features. However, as I discovered, it really is lacking in a few areas. It's quite limiting on the age range that you're able to choose, and the classes are gender locked, so if you wanted to be a male archer, tough luck. Or if you wanted to be a 30 to 40-year-old something Aragorn ranger character, still not going to happen, unfortunately, as it is. Though, that being said, the options for you to customize the look of your character are still pretty great, but you might find that you aren't able to create the perfect character that you had imagined. Another big problem I have in this game is the customization of your character's outfit. Unfortunately, from my experience from levels 1 to 19 and after having gone through a lot of gear, there was extremely little change in the way that my character looked. I think my collar got a little bit higher and I got metal on my boots, and that's it. It seems that there's absolutely no correlation between the icon, which sometimes shows a metal breastplate, and the actual item that appears on your character. And that is very disappointing and frustrating. I found myself still having a noob-looking wooden shield at level 19, which was identical to the one that I had when I was level 1, except the stats were increased. So for all intents and purposes, it's like a spreadsheet game. Because I have X item in my inventory which has Y numbers, I am now this powerful, instead of me actually looking more powerful. and it would seem that the only way to look really cool is to wear a costume. And guess what? That costs money. And from what I can tell, there's no way for characters to create their own costumes and sell them to others, so it's completely based on a real cash system. And I find that really disappointing because I find that to be something that would be really cool in a sandbox type game where players drive the player customization market. But hey, that's where you make a good buck, right? But what's worse and really salt in the eye here is that the premium costumes actually do give you a slight advantage over the regular player. Apparently for the Valkyrie costume, it gives you 10% increase in experience gain. That's fine, that's pretty common, but it gives you a 10-meter increase in render range. That is extremely helpful in Guild Wars and whatnot for PvP, and that is just not fair, not cool, underhanded, should not be in the game. Alright, so customization, a little bit disappointing. Now let's talk about the storyline, something that I didn't know much about because we really couldn't tell from the previews on how it was going to be. Well, it's crap. Unfortunately, the writing, the translations, something went wrong, and it's not as good as it should be. I think it probably has a lot to do with translations because I noticed that some of the words are pretty common for misinterpretations from Korean to English. At times I was like, what the actual frack is going on? But I was willing to let it slide because some of the story elements were at least somewhat interesting, and plus the game's depth wasn't dependent necessarily on the storyline, though it probably would have been a lot stronger with one. I also found cutscenes to be a little bit wonky. I didn't like the framing, I thought it was a little bit too zoomed in, and the voice acting, atrocious at times. Absolutely did not fit the character, and it seems that they didn't have enough voice actors. They had the same woman playing multiple characters, from a child to a full-grown woman to an older lady, and I found it really jarring, and it just kind of popped me out of the immersion, and I didn't enjoy it. They have to fix this. They have to go back and improve this if they want to improve the game experience. Now let's talk about the technical issues. Usually I wouldn't bring this up because they usually fix these after the beta. However, this is an issue that has been there since the initial release in Korea and the release in Russia, which happened well before the North American release. And that's when you switch to full screen, you are forced to 24 Hz. Now you can override this in the NVIDIA menu for some people, but if you have an ATI card, or if you don't have that option in your NVIDIA settings, you're SOL. Excuse my language. Come on BDO devs, get with the program. 24 Hz was like 15 years ago. Even worse than that though, it seems that developers have not said anything about this problem in the forums. They've not responded to any posts, and it's not in the known problems post. That's really frustrating. Alright, so my 8 minutes of ranting about what's wrong with this game is finally over, and now it's time to get to why the heck should I play this game? You might be wondering at this point, wait, Morphologist, what's wrong with you? Why would you even play this after having all of these problems? Well, it boils down to a pretty simple thing. It's one of the first games in a very long time that when I play it, I have a feeling of wonder. And it's not a very logical thing to say, but your gaming experience is very emotionally based, and you decide on what game you want to play based on that initial feeling, that first impression you get with the game. And Black Desert Online does that extremely well. But since this is a review, here are some reasons why I enjoy Black Desert Online. The world actually feels alive, and that goes a long way for immersion. Now you know that this game is gorgeous. The screenshots, the video in the background, they're all beautiful, but they don't go very far for immersing you in the environment. There's actually much more to it than that. Most MMOs feel static. You log on, NPCs are standing in their usual corner and they never change. They may be a merchant, they may be a thief, but they never move, and it feels fake. In the back of your mind, you know it's just an NPC. However, in Black Desert Online, it's a little bit different. Sure, some NPCs don't move, but a lot do. They have conversations, they're trading, they're moving back and forth. The world feels alive and lived in. And trust me, it makes a huge impact in the way the world feels when you play. There's nothing like playing an MMO and noticing everything's completely empty. Save the one spazzing character in the corner, spamming in chat. Interactions with NPCs in this game are also very different than your typical MMO. Each NPC has an amity level, or a level of friendliness towards you, and this is gained by doing certain things that makes that character interested in you. That means you're doing certain quests, or you've seen certain things, you've learned certain things, or you've talked to certain people. Then you've increased your friendliness level with them, and they're willing to do more for you. So the more you interact with your world, the more advantages you get, the more access you get to better equipment that they're more willing to sell you once they are more friendly with you. And even talking to them sometimes can be a minigame. There's a little conversation portion which allows you to select certain members of people that they're interested in, and if you select a good combination, they will give you a higher score and you gain more access to better equipment. It's interesting and it's different. Additionally, this entire system is energy based. Having conversations with people brings down your energy, that little bar in the upper left hand corner I talked about in the first part of this video. So you have to watch how much you have, because that can be used for other things like trading or fishing or other mini games. Now let's move on to quests that are given to you. Now a lot of MMOs are, here's a quest, go kill X number of said mob. In this game, it does happen. However, the numbers are usually not high, and usually there's a reason behind it. But more often than not, the quests aren't really based on killing things over and over. Like there was this great little quest where I had to go to the top of a hill in a mining camp and bring a wheelbarrow down. In order to bring the wheelbarrow, you had to balance by hitting left and right click. Once you got there, you got your reward. That is much more interesting and varied than just say, go killing 100 of said character, which is incredibly boring. Also, questing is not necessarily required. There are some storyline missions that yes, you will probably want to do to proceed. However, they're mostly optional. You can make money a lot of other ways. In fact, the best way to make money is probably trading. Once you get yourself a horse, yes, a horse, which is a huge system involved with that, with breeding and types of horses with certain benefits, you can actually hook them up to a cart that you buy. And there's a bunch of different carts that you can buy from very cheap to very expensive and have different load capacities, but you use those to trade between cities. The way that system works is on a series of nodes, which you have to invest in by using energy. Again, that energy comes back into play. Don't worry, if this sounds very complicated, it really isn't. All you have to do is go to the node manager and say you want to invest in it, but you actually have to go there and connect up the dots. And that's how you do trading. And that's how you actually make a bit more money when you're questing or just looting. Of course, this game also has a profession system. There's blacksmithing, there's fishing, and there's a bunch of other stuff. There's farming. You can get your own farm and grow your own crops and sell them, use them for your own food. And frankly, I really haven't scratched the surface. There's so much more depth to this game, and there's so much more to the mechanics of each individual part that I can't cover it in this video unless I made it an hour long, and I don't think you really want to sit through it. So now let's get back to the last thing on the list of really good things that make me want to play this game: the combat system. If Black Desert Online had nothing else but the combat system, it could probably stand on its own. So let's unpack that for a moment. This game has abilities just like any other MMO for each class. You put it on your hotbar, you hit it, and the attack is performed. However, there are secondary and tertiary attacks that you can do with right click and the F on the keyboard, the F key. And certain key combinations such as back spacebar or back shift or shift spacebar will perform certain unique actions that are great for certain situations like healing, dodging, jumping left, jumping right, rolling, which are important because NPCs are actually challenging at higher levels. You can't just sit there and hit them and expect to live. They'll start off with some directional attacks, and you can dodge those, but then suddenly, when it realizes you're too close, it'll start doing an area of effect, and that will do a ton of damage. So at that moment, you have to move back. That might be common for some games, but this game has a lot to do with movement. The faster you are, the more damage you're able to mitigate, and that's going to become very important for PvP situations. So what does all this depth mean, all this complexity? It might sound like a lot, and yes, you'll probably be a bit overwhelmed if you're not used to this sort of fighting game. Well, it means that victory becomes all the more cherished. When you win, it actually feels great, even against an NPC, because you know you avoided that attack. You used your skill to mitigate tons of damage, and you were able to single-handedly take down a super high-level NPC, or maybe even a well-versed player in a PvP match. And that is really fun. And that is why, despite all of the problems that I mentioned in the first part of this video, I am still playing Black Desert Online. In conclusion, I'm not going to give this game a rating. I think it's useless, and I also am not going to tell you what I think you should do with your own money. All I'm going to say is that I really enjoy this game and I want to keep playing it. But let me know what you think after watching this video. Are you interested? Are you turned off by what you've heard? Let me know what are those points that have convinced you to get it or not get it. And if you have the game already, what do you like or dislike about this game? I'm really interested to hear what you guys think. If you thought this video was helpful or informative, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.